So, what did you just see? Was it voodoo magic? Or was it just a ball of points? I'm going to try to explain this thing in layman's terms, although I won't be able to cover every single detail. So, let's start with a mesh. What is a mesh? In the world of computers, if we want to draw anything in 3 dimensions, we need to use a mesh. A mesh is basically a digital representation of a 3-dimensional object. That sounds complicated, but it's just a collection of 3 things: points, lines, and triangles. If you connect 2 points, you get a line, and if you connect 3 points, you get a triangle. To make this a little more official, I'm going to use official terminology from now on. Instead of points, we use vertices, instead of lines, we use edges, and instead of triangles, we use faces. You may not expect it, but just using these 3 tiny building blocks, you can create any 3-dimensional shape you want, no matter how complex your object is. At the end of the day, it's all triangles. Now I need to explain one more thing before we can continue. The so-called normal. In the world of computer graphics, the normal is used to show the direction of a surface. It's indicated by this little blue arrow. Every single point on the surface has a normal. The normal is a vector, which means it has a direction and a length. However, its length is always 1 because, well, it's not really relevant. The direction is the only thing that matters. This fact will be important for later, so keep that in mind. Now, let's apply our new knowledge to this monkey mesh. We start with its vertices, then we add a few edges, and finally we add the faces. Then we're going to take a look at its normals. As you saw before, the normals point away from the surface of the monkey. If the surface is very rough, then you can see that the arrows become chaotic and point in basically any direction. However, if the surface is smooth, then the arrows tend to point in roughly the same direction. Alright, so let's get rid of the edges and faces and focus just on the vertices and their normals. We're going to give every single vertex a color. Its color depends on its position. The further the vertex lies to the right, the redder it becomes. The further the vertex lies to the top, the greener it becomes. And the further the vertex lies to the front, the bluer it becomes. Then if we combine the red, green and blue colors, we get this pretty interesting color scheme on the vertices of our mesh. Now let's bring back the normals. Since every vertex has its own normal, we can apply a pretty simple yet interesting trick to create, well, art. Just take a look. So what exactly happened here? Let's rewind a bit. The secret is actually really simple. The only thing we're going to do is to move every vertex according to the direction its normal points towards. Basically, its position becomes its normal. Let's look at this in 2D first, to make it a little bit easier to understand. If the normal of a vertex points to the top, the vertex moves to the top. If the normal points to the right, the vertex moves to the right, etc. The vertex moves relative to the origin, so its previous position doesn't really matter. Because the length of the normal vector is always 1, the distance of every point to the origin also becomes 1. That explains why the end result is always a circle. Or in 3D, a sphere. If you do this with the monkey mesh you saw before, you get this pretty cool looking ball of points. But we aren't even close to its potential coolness. Just watch what happens when you do this on a much more complicated mesh. Enjoy the view! That's all for now. Thanks for watching. If you liked it, be sure to like, comment and subscribe. If you're interested in things like geometry, math, art and programming, you'll probably like my channel. I've recently started to upload more regularly, so stay tuned for more. If you'd like to support me, you can do so at ko-fi.com/bogsite, or you can click the link in the description. I don't like getting personal, but I'm recovering from a bad case of COVID, so I still have some difficulty with breathing and talking. My insurance doesn't cover all my medical bills, and I don't really have an income right now, so any support is appreciated. Thanks!